Hello, thank you for joining the Connection Connoisseur today, your connection to everything girlfriend and tribe. My name is Brenda Ridgely, and I am the author of Lady in the Tribe, and I'm so happy and excited to be sitting here with my good friend Tressen Bryant today. Tressen is a certified life coach specializing in positive mindset and amicable ends to relationships, even friendship. You can contact her directly on her Facebook page, which is Lovin' Life Coaching, and I'll also put some more contact information in the description below. So, Tressen, thank you so much for being here today. Gosh, how long is it that we've been friends, actually?
I would say at least 15 years, probably. Let's see, 2008, I think.
Yeah,
so a
long time. You're one of my oldest and dearest friends, and I just am so proud of you and proud of all of your accomplishments lately, and your business. I just know is you have such a valuable depth of knowledge and ways to relate and communicate effectively that I think is just people need today. So that's why I wanted to sit down with you today, because I want to start by talking just a little bit about friendship in general and finding what your thoughts are on friendship as a relationship. You know, it's a relationship that isn't bound by, a family or a contract of any sort or marriage. And so sometimes they get put on the back burner. Mm-hmm. So share with me just a minute of what you think about friendships and why they're so important.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for inviting me to come and share this time with you, and congratulations on the book. I'm so proud of you, and I think it's just awesome. So as far as friendships go, I think sometimes they can almost take the place or sometimes be more valuable than our family relationships are. We're in our families and we love the people that we're in our families with, but sometimes those relationships are not the ones that are designed to help us grow as much as we can. Sometimes they can hold us back. And also times they can also be very, very loving. But I find that my friendships are some of the most valuable, almost to the fact that I consider my friends to be my family. So that's the way I see that.
Yeah, the family you choose.
Right.
I've spoken about it a few times. It is the family you choose and the people that you can depend on in a crisis that are there for you, that just love you. So
absolutely,
thank you for that. And over the past few years, we've been challenged as a society in our relationships. We've been asked to socially distance ourselves and do things more virtually. I mean, we have a virtual option for almost everything these days. Right. Have you noticed a shift or a difference in any of your own relationships, or as a general rule, the population, as far as how we communicate with each other?
I have, and I think that probably my friendships have grown deeper, some of them through the communication just being on the phone or online, making the time to set aside that time because nobody can always answer the phone. And so you set that time aside, and what time can you talk to a certain person, or when can you just finding the time to be able to be available for that person. So I actually think that in my life it's made me closer to some of the people in my life. I think that some people have seen it as a negative, and going back to my mindset, I always think that that's a choice. So I guess I have chosen through the pandemic and through the different challenges that we've had is to see them just as that, just different than the way we were doing things before, but not bad.
Yeah. Well, good. And you are, an expert in this field, and like I said, very good at communicating in relationships. Some people who may feel that they're not very outgoing, or maybe they consider themselves an introvert, and maybe they just haven't even been socially connected in a virtual way much before. Mm-hmm. There's been some suffering going on, and I think it's affected people's behaviors when they relate with people. Have you felt or seen any of that?
I have, and I think that sometimes that can go clear back to our upbringing or I would say, let me just put it this way, I haven't always had the mindset that I do now. And so I had to find tools and ways to learn, and that can work for anyone who is introverted or extroverted, who's an outgoing personality or somebody who's really quiet. But I didn't always have the belief system that I have now, and I would say that it's the most positive that it's ever been, and it continues to grow. I still have challenges, just like anybody does, but I think it's what we decide for ourselves that we want. And so if we decide that we're feeling lonely or we're feeling down, we have to have some sort of a self-talk that encourages us to take one little teeny tiny step towards something, and it could be anything, maybe reading a positive quote daily or whatever that is, that helps you start to think about what's possible for you and your personality type. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And what is it that interested you in relationships in the first place, that made you study it and become a certified coach and really want to help people with relationships?
Well, that's in 2010, I got a divorce, and my kids were little. They were 5 and 6, and I had been with my significant other for 10 years. And I found us going in completely different directions. And so I knew that I was experiencing growth, and I wanted to continue doing that. But I didn't. Divorce is really, really hard, no matter what type of situation that you're in when it happens to you. But I knew that if I made the decision to make it amicable and to behave in an amicable way and to think about it in an amicable way, then that would produce positive results. It took time to do that. It wasn't that way from the very beginning, because there's always another person there. But I always knew that the way that I behaved was the way I wanted to behave. And I know I don't have any control over the way anybody else decides to think or do things, but as long as I stayed with that positive mindset and the possibility that it was going to be great for the kids and great for everyone involved, that's what I truly wanted out of that. So, and that was 2010, and here we are now, and the kids have been fully supported. We get along fantastic. My ex and I go to all the family events, the kids' school events, and we even have family dinners when we feel like we have to sit down and talk to each other about something that one of the kids might be experiencing in their life that they need help with. And through the whole time, the kids have known that they were fully supported by both parents, and also we can talk to each other about the way we want to co-parent our kids in such a nice way, and it's turned out fantastic. So what I wanted to do, and what got me started in life coaching, is that I wanted to share that experience with other people and show them that it's not the norm, but it's possible, and why aren't we trying to make it the normal way to do things? So I think we should question these beliefs that we have, that things always have to be hard, or you have to not like your ex, or things are bad. So that's what got me started.
I love it. I love it. So Tressen, thank you for sharing that background a little bit. And you're absolutely right. We have a choice in how we want to begin as well as end things. And ending any relationship, it's possible to be amicable, but sometimes you don't think so. And in friendships, sometimes it's even harder, because they just don't require as much from us, and we let ourselves get away with that, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to ask you a little bit. You've talked about mindset a few times, and I'd love to hear a little bit more from you about what is mindset exactly, and why does it matter?
Well, I think that mindset to me means personal freedom, and the reason why I view it that way is because, something you just said about the ending of friendships can be hard, and that's the way that we think about them. So when we start with that thought, then we're kind of not opening up some space for what could be possible there, right? So mindset to me is personal freedom, and it's something that I feel like we have to practice repeatedly throughout the day. So we have belief systems that were ingrained in us on our upbringing, through school, other people's influences us, the media influences us, And we tend to start just kind of adopting beliefs about things that we don't even sometimes necessarily know why we've adopted that as a belief. So what I mean by mindset is you take a thought that you have, and then you decide how you feel about what you believe about that thought. And in just a matter of 1 second, you can make the choice to decide whether or not that suits your life. And if it doesn't, you can say, thank you very much. I appreciate myself sharing that thought with myself, but I actually would prefer to go in this direction. So, I've heard that people have had difficult divorces, but what I would love is for everything to turn out fantastic. Or I have a friend that I'm having a difficult time with, and I'm finding that we're growing apart. Maybe we don't have some of the same interests or things that we've always done through that friendship, or maybe this has been a friendship that doesn't serve my highest and best good, or maybe even the highest and best good for the other person, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think mindset is just true freedom in the fact that we have to continuously ask ourselves the question, what am I believing about the things that I'm thinking? And that's what mindset is to me.
Okay, well, that's excellent. I mean, to really think about it, the reminder piece. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh! I mean, our ego talks to us all the time, but yep. We need to have our own conversation of things that are constructive, right?
Right.
So, how does mindset work in a platonic friendship, in your opinion? What does that mean?
Well, I think that there's a lot going on there, right? So, and I love that you brought up the ego. That's one of my favorite things, because we all have it, and you can call it the monkey mind or whatever that thing is that kind of chatters at you. Its job is to protect you, right? And its job is also to be right. So I think we need to recognize that, because we don't need to be right. We just need to honor our belief system and follow that.
Okay, so mindset matters. Right. Bottom line, it matters. So let's talk about mindset and friendships. That's a little bit of a different animal. What does that mean?
Well, I think that it depends on the friend, right? Yeah. So we have our certain belief system, and we hang out with different people and different friendships, and each one of those people have their own belief system, right? Mm-hmm. So something that comes to my mind is victimhood. And I know that might sound, like a strong one to start with, but say, for instance, if I have a friend that calls me and kind of goes into sharing stories, or comes over and sharing stories about victimhood. And trust me, I have lived this myself, because there was a certain time in my life where I played the victim in my life situations, right? And like I said, I've learned. So if that friend comes to me now, and if her expectation is for me to say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry this happened to you, and stay in that victimhood with her, and oh my goodness, how could this ever happen? How could that other person do that to you? That to me is way, way different. So my mindset in that friendship situation would be, I completely hear you. I hear that this is a very personal thing for you, and my heart goes to you. And I also know that this is going to be temporary. It's not going to be a forever thing for you. And what can we do that we could talk about, or maybe explore as an option that would help you feel better about this? And it's a forward-focused way to look into and maybe help somebody kind of get out of their funk of feeling that piece of being a victim. Mm-hmm. If I sit with you with my mindset and I join yours as the victim, I don't help you in any way, nor do I help myself. I can go away feeling very heavy about that. But if I can really look at you and say, hey, I love you to pieces, this is something that you can get through. Because we have these friendships, we can get through these things, right? So it's the people in friendship that you surround yourself with and their mindsets. And I think it's very valuable and important to invite friends into your life and keep long-lasting, long-term friendships like with you, Brenda. I feel like we share a very valuable mindset. Yeah. Sorry about that, but we do. And it's a positive, forward-focused mindset that says, hey, how can we lift each other up in the situations that are going on in our life? And How can we learn something from each other? How can maybe I can, by bringing some lightheartedness to whatever's going on in your life that day, maybe my lighthearted mindset in that moment where I choose to stay can help you laugh about how silly all of these things are that we worry about. And I know there are serious things, and I know there are things like deaths in the family or illnesses and things like that are serious, but I always tell my kids that we're not going to freak out about things, we're going to figure things out. And when you have that kind of a mindset and then you open it right back up to those possibilities that I mentioned before. So
I love it. It's such a easy habit to fall into, pile on and get right down there with them, and because that's what a good friend does. They go into the trenches with you, and yes, that's true, but to be able to flip it and help pull them out as well, and having that mindset to be that support that yes, everybody wants to be heard and seen and understood, and so communicating that effectively, but then knowing the right time to pivot and say, let's get out of there.
It's going in the trenches in a different way. Yeah. You're still in there with them because that's where you want to be, because their friendship's valuable and you love them. But if you use the word trenches, are you in there with your gun, or are you in there hiding? Like, what do you use the tools that you have, right? So you use a forward-focused mindset that says, hey, we have these tools available to us to help us get back out of that.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm going to take you with me, and I'm going to help you in this moment. So it's just a choice, really, in that very second. And it's also a choice on the other person's mindset. Sometimes we love our story and we want to stay so entrenched in our story, right, that we want to stay down there without any tools. We want to have the whole entire world feel sorry for us. And that, I think, stems also from the way we grew up and what we're doing to learn that there's a better way. So maybe sometimes we haven't had the opportunity to learn there's a better way. Like I said, there's been times I know where you've sat with me where I was just totally down and felt completely run over by certain things that had happened to me in my life. And you listened and took that time. But it's that support and the way that we support, the way that you supported me for certain times. And then all these years later, just the growth piece. And that's also what had driven me to learn more about the way this all works, because I didn't like staying down there. I wanted to find a new way to have a belief system and a mindset that supported just a more positive way where we can turn around faster, right? And it's not that grief doesn't matter. It's not that missing someone doesn't matter. It's not that the end of these relationships don't hurt. It's not putting those things to the side, but it's processing them in a way that really honors ourselves so that we can emerge from those situations in a healthy, positive, moving forward way.
Absolutely. And you said a word, practice.
Yeah.
What is a practice? I mean, because I know I've been in a place, and I know many people have been in a place where they just wouldn't know how to get there.
Yeah.
And, do you have any baby steps in mind to start turning that mindset around so that you are able to do it for yourself and your friendships? Yes,
and that's a great thing to bring into this conversation, because it goes back to our belief system, right? What we're told, what we believe, and all of that. Well, some of us don't know any different, right? We don't know any different. So part of things like this interview, and things like books, and things like actually just the thought that you can have that there is a different way and that there's always a choice. If we can help people understand that there is always a choice on what you're believing about what you are thinking about anything, and that you get to decide, you're the one that totally gets to decide what you believe about those thoughts. That's the smallest little piece. It's just the knowing of that, right? And then there's a whole new thing that can open up to you just knowing. So I think that that's part of why I want to be out here. I want to do things like this with you. I want to continue coaching and visiting with people to at least give them the thought and the idea that it's possible to question what is happening and what you're thinking about what's happening and what you're thinking. So that would be the baby step. And then another little small baby step is to say, you know what, I don't know how to do this, but a great tool that you can use, and we use this in life coaching, is to think back to a time where you did something in your life that you were proud of, that you might have been afraid to do in the beginning. You did not know how to do it. Maybe it was starting a new job. I mean, we were all babies. We didn't know how to walk when we were born, right? Maybe we can't remember that, but maybe you learned how to ride a bicycle when you were a kid. I mean, it can be something that simple that you tried that you didn't know how to do. So you can sit still with yourself and you can think back to a time when you did something that you were proud of and you didn't know how to do it, but you went ahead and tried it anyway. And how did you do that? And you can literally kind of meditate on that and take yourself back in that. Think of some of the things that you were thinking about during that time. Hey, I don't know how to do it. Like an open mindset would say, I don't know how to do this, but I'll bet you there's a way if I try, right?
Right.
There might be a book, something like that. The closed mindset says, I don't know how to do this, and so I'm just frustrated. And that's the end. So that's the difference right there. If you're scared to talk to someone, books are amazing.
Right.
YouTube, channels like this are amazing, right? And you can sit in your stillness and you can sit into that and see how you feel with it. And if it resonates with you, then watch another one, you know?
I love it. So recognize that you don't know everything first. Recognize there's something that you'd like to do differently.
Right.
And then it sounded like kind of try to get to a good feeling place to remember and you know, spark some movement in the right direction with that. So
right.
Love it. Awesome.
Yeah. I have one more little tool I can share with you. It's called recognize, release, replace, and respond.
Okay.
So if you're in a conversation with your friend and you recognize that it doesn't serve her highest and best good, then what you can do is, first of all, it's the recognition of that, right? This may be a toxic conversation. This may be taking us down, you know, that rabbit hole, and it's getting more and more negative, right? Mm-hmm. Recognizing that is the very, very first step, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then you can go, okay, how can we release this? How can we release this? And some little tricks are just something as easy as changing your physiology and changing up the way that you move. Like you can literally look at your friend and say, hey, you can just brush that off. You can let's just shake that off for just a second. And that helps you release it. And then you literally can ask your friend, how do we want to replace this? Right? What do we want to replace it with? In this moment, what would feel better to you? And it doesn't have to be the best, because better is a small step. What would feel better to you in this moment? Like, what can we maybe look forward to? Or what would feel better to you in this situation? And that brings that to the forward focused part of your mind, right? And then you have the opportunity to respond. So then you can respond and you can say, okay, good. I was pretty caught up in all that crap, you know, and I was going on and on and on about it. But thank you for kind of helping me come back around, because that's kind of our jobs in an honest friendship as friends, is to kind of say, hey, I need to be the anchor right here and actually be really honest with this person. I'm not going down that hole with them. So recognize, release, replace, and respond.
I love it. I love it. Say it one more time.
Recognize, release, replace, and respond.
Okay, that's great. That's something we can work with, right, ladies?
Yeah.
Well, it's just been amazing sharing with you, and I think we need to deep dive on a few more topics in the future.
Thank you.
But what I want to kind of wrap up with here is maybe you have a strategy that you can share with our viewers of a way to kind of set the stage of your own mindset. Maybe it's making the decision, what is my mindset? You don't even know what it is. Maybe, how would you like things to look? Do you have a strategy or a homework assignment for our guests that they can spend a few minutes on and kind of just get to know themselves a little bit?
Absolutely. So what I would think is that spend some time, just a few moments, because if it's too long, then you won't do it. So jot down one or two beliefs that you grew up with that don't necessarily feel great to you, like when it comes to friendships, right? And maybe what you expect out of your friendships or those types of things. And maybe just jot those down. And then get really, really curious about those beliefs. It could be 2 sentences, right? So what I want you to do is ask yourself, is it true or not? And the answer should be yes or no. And the reason you write it on a piece of paper is because it's stuck there. So if you write a statement, a belief statement, and then you can ask yourself whether you believe it's true, yes or no. The reason you put it on a piece of paper is because it's cemented there and your ego doesn't have the chance to change it or be right about it and go, well, yeah, but maybe you just answer yes or no. And then you can ask yourself, who would I be without that thought? So can I think of a stress-free reason to have that thought? What this does is just kind of clarifies your belief. You're getting curious about maybe something that you've believed for a long time that doesn't really serve you. So that's your homework assignment. Get curious about maybe 1 or 2 beliefs. Write them down so they're stuck there so you can't manipulate them or move them around at all. And then just ask if that serves you. Is that your truth, yes or no?
Awesome. Tressen, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Tressen Bryant with Love and Life Coaching. You can find her on Facebook, and I'll also put some other contact information in the notes. Just been an awesome episode. Please subscribe for a new tribe building episode each week.
Thank you, Brenda.
Absolutely. My pleasure. When 3 or more gather, we are tribe.
Yes, we are.